Okay, so what I'm going to be doing today, I think in the last video that I posted I said I was going to do a little bit of work with green stuff, but I'm not quite prepared to do the project I was planning on with that. So I decided that since my girlfriend wanted me to put some transfers, put some numbers on her Simian team for Blood Bowl, I would do a little video in regards to that. So, let's dive right in it. I've, a friend of mine who I was recently doing some modeling with said that he wasn't 100% up on doing things like transfers and whatnot. So, he wanted to, at some point, sit and talk and have me show him. Oh, here, that's what it is. Okay, I don't know. Ah, balls. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to use my good pliers for that. Or, not pliers, tweezers. I'm going to have to use my little burnt tweezers. But, so what we're going to do right now is we are going to do some, put some transfers on some monkeys. So what I'm going to be doing here is, I have my X-Acto blade. Should probably change it. I gotta find my, replacements. But, we're going to go for the number, starting from number 1. Going all the way to 12 or 13? 12. Yeah, all the way to 12. So, I'm gonna trim up the one here. Give it a little bit of a go a little bit past the letter, because when you pick it up and look at it closely in the light, you probably won't be able to see it on camera, but there's a little boundary, just so I see where I can see it. Okay, so there's a little tiny boundary. Come on, camera. Oh, you're not going to focus. There's a little tiny boundary around the transfer, around what's going to be put onto your model. Now, some people will say you want to put a little bit of hard coat down first before you start putting your transfer. I've put hard coat on first. I've not put hard coat on first. It's honestly one of those things that I haven't really noticed a huge difference between the two. So what I'm doing right now, I'm going to move this over, is I have the number 1 here on the transfer, and I just have it soaking in a little bit of water. That's going to loosen the transfer itself from the backing that it is on. Now, one mistake I made when I was first doing transfers and stuff like that is I was treating it like a temporary tattoo and thinking you had to do the face, what you were looking at was supposed to go directly against the model and stuff like that. Now I've learned since that is not the case. So what I'm going to do is have a brush here that I kind of put a little bit of water on. This is going to guide the transfer onto the model. Now I'm going to use that as well to kind of just position it. That can go away. Take some water off that. And as you can see, I can kind of push around a little bit. But once this dries, so once all of these are done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go past, and I'm going to hit each one. Come on, stay on the base. I'm going to hit each one with a little bit of hard coat, and that's going to make it so that those numbers are going to stay there. So, like, you know, with Blood Bowl, your models, there's a good chance you're going to be knocking it over. You want to make sure that you have that stability, that, you know, you want to have those numbers being permanent, as it were. So, again, it's much the same from this point on out. I'm probably going to ramble a bit. Oh, no, don't you do that. There we go. Hopefully that doesn't damage that too much. If it, no, it did. Okay, so what I'm going to do, thankfully these have quite a few different ones of each number. I'm just going to get rid of, because you are damaged and no good to me anymore. Unfortunately, if I do choose to use these, that means I have a few less. But I do believe anybody that I need to put numbers on out of all of my teams already have that. I have a couple of Blood Bowl teams myself. I'm not currently playing in a league due to some issues with the founder of my local league. Though hopefully I would like to get that rectified, because I do miss playing the game actively. So yeah, again, it's a lot of this is patience. You kind of just sit, you have to wait for the water to saturate. Normally what I'd be doing if I wasn't recording, I'd have a video on in the background, you know, probably smoke a bowl as I was doing it. Be nice and relaxed. Okay, you don't want to come off, so that means you're not ready. So sometimes you'll think, okay, so yeah, it should be ready to come out now. Unfortunately, not always the case. Generally, though, a little water on your brush never really hurts too much. You don't want to really touch the transfer itself if you can help it, because the more you handle the actual... There we go. And that one went on a lot nicer than the first one did. Sometimes that'll happen. Like, you'll have one that'll go on, you'll have to kind of fight with it a little bit. The next one you put on lickety-split, like nothing else. So, okay. Now number 3. Thankfully, like, the transfers that I'm using are actually from the Chaos Chosen box that came out recently. Well, not recently, but it's one of the more recent few that have come out, or at least when I was still paying attention to Blood Bowl regularly. It's they are okay. So I'm gonna have to make sure you are facing this way when I put you on, because 3 goes that way. Oh, in frame is nice. Okay. So now that I have this planned out, again, just kind of dip. Yeah, dip and hold. So to kind of fill time, I don't like dead space. The game is cool, but in this instance, yeah, we're not looking for dead air. The couple of buddies of mine and I are going to be looking at doing some competitive 40K soon. Doing some local tournaments to get ready. It was actually my good friend of mine's idea, because he's kind of dived in with both feet for Warhammer 40K since I've gotten him into it. There we go. Come on. Alright. Fix you. There we go. And in position. Looks nice. Very nice. That's number 3 out of the 12 models I got here. And again, it's basically just a matter of cut and... Well, yeah, basically cut and cut, wet, paintbrush. Cut, wet, paintbrush. It's it can be actually kind of relaxing doing this type of work. I find some days it's one of those things that I can sit down, put on some music or put on a YouTube video or something like that and just go forth and work on putting numbers on models or putting decals on models. Like, I might do some sort of video when I finish up my night that I'm working on and put the decals on it. I think that would be kind of cool. But I am looking like I'm coming towards the a little bit longer than I normally film for. So what I'm going to do, I'm only 4 models through, is I'm going to stop the video for now, wrap all this up, and through the power of movie magic, I will be back to you in a few minutes. And alrighty, so I have finished putting the numbers on. I took a little break, let them dry a bit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some hard coat. Basically any clear coat will do. This is just what I generally like to use. I like how it works. Your mileage may vary. I'm also using a wet palette over here off screen because, well, I kind of dig using a wet palette. I like how they work. It's keeps your paint, or in this case, clear coat, moist longer. I know a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't like that word, but it is what it is. So I'm going to grab a good chunk, well, not a good chunk, but, a good little blob, put it on my wet palette. Not really showing that because it's not going to show up on camera all that well. And then we're going to grab a model. And this part goes actually fairly quickly, especially once you've let them dry a bit. Because all you then have to do is just go over the top. There may be some streaks that you can, kind of hide with paint if you decide to put paint around the rim. This way too, like I'd mentioned before, what's going to happen is when you put the model on its side for, putting it on its back or on its front, depending on whatever the result of your knockdown was. This way, you're not going to have to redo the numbers every couple of games. I myself had one instance where I was essentially, I just put numbers on my models. First game I played afterwards, every single number that I put on ended up just like flaking off. So this is one of those steps you kind of want to make sure that you do. It's super important. In my opinion, not so much the putting the hard code on beforehand, but definitely afterwards. Now, when you're talking about like larger transfers, like if you're doing transfers on a night or something like that for like the shoulder pads, then you might want to put some of the clear coat on beforehand. When you're looking at something of that scale. But like something like this, maybe a decal on a shoulder pad for Marine, it's not going to be as big of an issue to get that undercoat. The top coat over top of it, you want to put something over top. Like I'm going to be doing some Alpha Legion models out of some old Dark Angels models. I think I'd mentioned that before. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Alpha Legion emblem. I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to go over, I'm probably going to mix some Ard coat and some like gray or something like that, and go over top of it and make it look like it's kind of faded in. It's not like really up at the fore. And basically make it look like it's like base gray, gray ceramite armor that, gets painted to purpose type deal. So while I've been rambling here over the last, 4 minutes, I've managed to get all of these clear coated. Now, one thing I do like about the Citadel paints, I'm just going to use this here water as my rinse, wipe off on my wet palette. One thing I do like about the Citadel paints is they do tend to dry quickly. It's nice when it's on model or on plastic, like that's not too, that's pretty much dry as it is right now. Like I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable touching it, but I wouldn't feel, I feel comfortable moving it around and handling it a little bit, at least a little bit. So I'm just going to go back over what I've done today. I know I haven't done that in any of the other videos. Any of the two videos. So a little bit of water is definitely going to be one of those things that you're going to need. It's a patience game. So you hold your transfer that you want to put on your model in the water. You want to make sure it's good and wet. You're looking at like, anywhere from like 30 seconds to a minute of holding it underwater, so do it while you're watching something. And then, you kind of want to work it into place, set it off to the side, let it dry. After that, I always suggest doing stuff like that in a batch. Now, I just realized something here. I'm going to have to fix a transfer that didn't quite work right. So I'm actually going to do that on camera here and make that fix, because for whatever reason one of my transfers ripped as it as I was brushing it on. Unfortunately, sometimes stuff like that happens. Now, I don't have another one of the same number, because it was the number 11, and for whatever reason, this size of transfer for this transfer sheet, it didn't come with a duplicate of that number. So I'm going to take another number 1 here, shave it off as close as possible, and we're going to do a little bit of repair work because, you know, it's one of those things, sometimes stuff like that happens. You got to kind of be prepared for that. Wet my brush here a little bit. Take a little bit of the moisture off, and then once it's on and once I've got it stuck down, I'm gonna once again hit it with once it's kind of dry, I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of hard coat over top, and then that's gonna help keep it in place. No, not quite ready to come off yet, so back in the water. There we go. Keep looking at my camera here. Oh, there we go. And trying to make sure I have enough time left. This is going to make it a little bit harder to... Oh, there we go. Once I can get it to move freely just a little bit, I can get it to kind of just place where I want it to. Okay, so hopefully this time that stays where I want it to be. I really hate when things don't work out the way I plan. Okay, so take a little bit of the hard coat. Hopefully this isn't too soon. Almost is. Feather that out a bit. Okay, so I'm going to set where you're at and kind of just lay on your back a bit. You'll get used to that while you're on the pitch, because you're not much more than a mangy manky. So yeah, that is pretty much what I have to show you today. Just you know, putting some decals on some models. Happy modeling and happy wargaming.